Hello everyone, this is Matthew chapter 18. At the same time came the disciples unto Jesus, saying, Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus called a little child unto him, and set him in the midst of them, and said, Verily I say unto you, except you be converted and become as little children, you shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoso shall receive one such little child in my name receives me. And whoso shall offend one of these little ones, which believes in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Woe unto the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come, but woe to the man by whom the offense comes. So, here in chapter 18, we see Jesus. He was in Galilee. He had just come from the Mount of Transfiguration, where he appeared beautifully, bright, shining clothes. And he was told to pay taxes, and he told Peter to go cast a line and get a fish, and he would have money from the fish's mouth. But he's saying here, his disciples came to Jesus saying, Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And he called a little child unto him. He was sitting down, and he called a little child unto him. He was like, Come here, child. The child came up to him, probably set him in his lap, maybe, I don't know. Or he stood in front of him. And he said, and as that child was before him, he said, Verily I say unto you, except you be converted, meaning changed. Except you be converted, you be changed, you have a change of heart, and become as little children, you shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. So that change he wants is you to be humble. Because part of the fear of God is to hate arrogance and pride. Also perverse speech and evil and an arrogant look and all the So let's see. It's dark. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to read this. So it said, And whoso shall receive one such little child in my name receives me. Because whatever you do to the least of these, you do to me, is what Jesus said. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones, which believes in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hung around his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Woe unto the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come. But woe to the man by whom the offense comes. So, we're precious children to him, and he loves us deeply, more deeply than you can imagine. Love is stronger than death. And remember, as touching on children, King David said, on what it means to be like a child, King David said, I am weaned like a child in my father's arms. I rest, and I know that knowledge is too high for me. He is too high for me, and he was comfortable and he rested in knowing him. Because it's too high for him to understand. He rested in his power, knowing he was all-powerful, and he could just rest. And he had comfort in him. He humbled himself and just trusted in him. Lean not on your own understanding, but trust in the Lord with all your understanding. So, said, Wherefore if thy hand or thy foot offend thee, cut them off, and cast them from thee. It is better for thee to enter into life halt or maimed, rather than having 2 hands or 2 feet, be cast into everlasting fire. And if thy eye offend thee, pluck it out, and cast it from thee. It is better for thee to enter into life with 1 eye, rather than having 2 eyes, to be cast into hell fire. Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones, for I say unto you, that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. So, where he says, wherefore if your hand or your foot offends you, cut them off and cast them from thee. If you're sinning with your hand or your foot, if you're running to do evil, or your hand is doing things evil, if you can't control yourself, if you can't bring your body into submission, it's better that you cut one of them limbs off than to go into death eternally. It's better to enter life maimed, don't you think, than to be dead completely with all your limbs? That is a true saying. So he's emphasizing, control yourself. It's better for you to cut your limbs off even. That's how important it is. To control yourself, control your flesh, control your body, control your thoughts, control your heart, control your emotions, control everything, and don't let it control you. And run to the evil. Take heed that you despise not one of these little ones, for I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. So, these little children have angels. Angels follow some people. It says we're in this world, and something about guardians being around us. I would say, as he said this, like children and have angels. That's what he said. And even it says Paul, in one part, they said something about his angel. I remember in one place, his angel did this or did that. I remember this in one part. And I'll try to find it later, but I remember something about that too. So it was a well-known thing. But, yeah. So, sorry, I'm trying to see this. It's hard to see. For the Son of Man has come to save that which was lost. How think ye, if a man has 100 sheep, and one of them be gone astray, does he not leave the 99 and go into the mountains and seek that which was gone astray? And if so be that he finds it, verily I say unto you, he rejoiced more of that sheep than of the 99 which went not astray. Even so it is not the will of your Father which is in heaven, that one of these little ones should perish. Moreover, if thy brother trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee 1 or 2 more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as the heathen man and the publican. Verily I say unto you, whatsoever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Again I say unto you, that if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them. So, he said, if I have 99 sheep, and one goes astray, do I not leave all the other ones and go after that one sheep? Yes. So, just like they say, the Pharisees would say, why do you go around sinners? Why do you eat with the drunkards and the wicked? And he said, the well don't need a physician, but the sick. If someone's lost, if there's a lost soul, he's going to go after them. And he will for you. if he draws you to himself. And no one's stronger than him. It's not the will of the Father which is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish. So it's not his will that anyone perish. Not one of these little ones perish. It's not his will. He loves them and has no desire for them to perish. They're precious to him, and they mean more to him than you could ever know, or any father or mother's felt for their child. His love runs deeper than anything any human mind or heart can conceive. He is love. Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. He shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. So, if your brother trespasses against you, go to him in private, he's saying. So, if your brother, say in the context of a sheep going astray even, if you have brothers and sisters in a congregation, a community of people, and your brother goes astray, who is my brother, sister, mother? It's he who does the will of God. If one of them goes astray, has something against you, go to him or if your brother shall trespass against you, go to him in private first. Don't put him on blast in front of all the public. Go to him in private and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he shall hear you, you gained your brother. But if he will not hear you, then take with thee one or two more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglects to hear the church, let him be unto thee as a heathen man and a publican. So if he won't hear you, take 2 or more. So maybe with 2 or more witnesses there, he might agree and be like, well, there's multiple people agreeing upon this matter. If the whole body agrees upon it, and he doesn't realize he's insane, then let him be as a heathen and a publican. There's no help. Verily I say unto you, whatsoever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Again I say unto you, that if 2 of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them. So he said, whatever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. So whatever you bind or loose on earth or ask upon will be given from your Father in heaven. In heaven he will grant it. Where 2 or 3 are gathered together, this is a church. It's not a building with walls. It's not by works we're saved, or by going to a building or a formal, proper church. We're supposed to talk about this in our way, in our daily way. That's part of the Shema. And he said, there I am in the midst of them. Then came Peter to him and said, Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Till 7 times? Jesus said unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. Which is 490 times. You better not do it 491. No, I'm just playing with you. It means as many times as it be long suffering. That's what it means, be long suffering. It's poetic speech, meaning be long suffering, have no limit. So therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened unto a certain king, which would take account of his servants. And when he had begun to reckon one, he was brought unto him, which owed him 10,000 talents. But forasmuch as he had not to pay, his Lord commanded him to be sold, and his wife and children, and all that he had, and payment to be made. The servant therefore fell down and worshipped him, saying, Sorry. Lord, forasmuch as he had not to pay, his Lord commanded him to be sold, and his wife and his children, and all that he had in payment to be made. The servant therefore fell down and worshipped him, saying, Lord, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. Then the Lord of that servant was moved with compassion, and loosed him, and forgave him the debt. But the same servant went out and found one of his fellow servants, which owed him 100 pence, and he laid hands on him, and took him by the throat, saying, Pay me that thou owest. And his fellow servants fell down at his feet, and besought him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. And he would not. But he went and cast him into prison till he should pay the debt. So when his fellow servants saw what was done, they were very sorry, and came and told unto their Lord all that was done. Then his Lord, after that he had called him, said unto him, O thou wicked servant, I forgave thee all that debt, because thou desirest me. Should not thou also have had compassion on thy fellow servant, even as I had pity on thee? And his Lord was wroth, and delivered him to the tormentors, till he should pay all that was due unto him. So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also unto you, if you from your hearts forgive not every one of your brother his trespasses. So touching on forgive your brother, not just 7 times 7, but 7 times 70, meaning long-suffering of all your trespasses. Always long-suffering. That's part of love. Love is patient, love is kind, love conquers all, love bears all, love doesn't boast, love keeps no record of right or wrong. I shouldn't have to go over these things. Sorry, my flashlight just went out, but I shouldn't have to go over these things and keep reminding you. They should be ingrained in you. You should know this. But what he was saying is, if you're forgiven of your debts by your Lord, if you owe someone a lot of money and he clears you, and then you go and someone owes you, and you beat them, why do you expect mercy after you beat someone and didn't show mercy? And you want mercy? When you're not merciful, why do you deserve it? When you yourself are not merciful, but yet you want mercy. You want your cake and to eat it too, kind of. So he said, likewise your heavenly Father will do to you if you don't forgive your brother of all his trespasses. So be long-suffering and forgive your brother. Bless you guys, and I'm making this really late. Sorry, and I'm sorry with the quality of this. It's in the dark, and it was hard to read. Love you guys. This is chapter 18, the Exegesis of Matthew.